We have Denise Warriner on the phone with us. Her sister was killed for improper mask wear. And I want to make sure that we get the story from the horse's mouth, Denise. First of all, our sympathies are with you and your family. And thank you for coming on and retelling a story that has got to be painful.
Good morning, Glenn. Thank you very much for having me. And pardon me, you've captured the essence of everything what happened quite perfectly. It's got me a little emotional, actually.
Sorry.
Thank
you. I saw the video last week, and I think that's when we started talking, my office and you. But we were so shocked when we saw this video. We're showing it now if you happen to be a Blaze TV subscriber. But it is, I mean, it's horrific.
Pretty despicable.
Despicable. So she was sitting off to the side, kind of all by herself. Had she just arrived at the hospital? Had she been there for a while? What's the story?
So she had been in the hospital 2 weeks prior, had been released just about a week prior. She had an underlying lung disease and had contracted COVID. So she was one of those folks who got quite unwell. She recovered. She had tested negative and was released. Within a couple of days, some of those lingering symptoms seemed to exacerbate. So she returned to hospital on May 10th, was there in the evening, had a productive cough and had some obvious struggling with breath. So she had been in the ER, and she'd been in the ER for about 20 or odd hours,
Jeez.
Was admitted. Yeah, was admitted. So she was brought to the floor at 6 a.m. Now, my understanding is, although she was known to be COVID negative, because she had similar symptoms, she was placed on the COVID floor. So she's, on the floor at 6 a.m. and asks for food. They don't have anything, so she decides, of course, it's a basic need. You're hungry, so she thinks that she's going to find something at the food court. So she makes her way to the food court with her mask on, following whatever policies they had, and she becomes, of course, very unwell, as you can see in the video, without breath, and sits in a corner to try to get her breath, as if anyone else would do if you can't breathe. She removed the mask because it was an obstruction, and that's where, things pick up, as you said, that it was identified that she didn't have her mask on. It was below her chin. And within minutes, if security shows up on site, they, grip her, crush her into a wall, and then there's a restraint and surprise. An unwell, petite, frail woman goes into cardiac arrest. And as you see in the video, she is carted down a hallway like garbage.
I have to tell you, the disrespect for a dead body was so shocking to me. I mean, she was practically dragged down the hall. When she was under attack, these soldiers, really, these security guards, come pin her against the wall. You would think she's a criminal. And the one that I think is the most abhorrent is what I think is a nurse that first goes over and talks to her. She is just yelling at her to put the mask back on. No compassion in this video at all for your sister.
She's actually one of the accused. She's a female security guard.
Oh.
And you're absolutely correct. She steps in immediately, and she is intimidating, and she is provoking, and she's a bully. And
big time.
Obviously her ego is front and center. And I think that, she was just waiting for my sister to flinch, and she was ready to take her down because she could.
It's unbelievable.
Because she could.
Okay. So, this apparently I don't know how your system works, but it went up to a district attorney or something. What happened next? These guys were being held for manslaughter, right?
So they were both charged with manslaughter and criminal negligence causing death. And the way that our system works is you go to a pretrial. And at that point, the government and the defense put their cards forward. A judge determines, is there enough evidence here to go to trial? And so that Justice Qualley, determined there was enough evidence for it to be put to a jury trial. Defense counsel filed an appeal, and their suggestion was that there was a lack of evidence. And so this goes before Justice Sean Dunphy, and he listens to a few hours of oral summations and reads some written summations
Did he
in one
see
day.
the video?
He did, actually, and he was quite dismissive of it, if I'm truthful. He was his actual words were, and I'll quote, "Is this was assaultive at best."
Okay.
And,
okay.
Yeah. And I think that the video speaks for itself. That it is evident, as you rightly pointed out, this was a killing. So Justice Dunphy decided that there was insufficient evidence. He aligned with the defense. And in fact, he made that decision effectively before the end of oral summations. He was asking the defense counsel, well, how do you want me to basically send this to you? What term do you want me to use? And it was tossed. And I think that not only there's been an incredible national reaction, but it is at a global scale, which I think.
So the Canadian people are responding properly to this?
I'm not sure if our culture probably isn't as assertive as American culture, and I can say that because I'm married to an American. So, but I will say that there has been an outrage. There has been an outrage. I mean, I personally, of course, I would have, appreciated us chanting in the street, so to speak. But there has been an outrage. But I have done, everything that I can to try to reach out to the folks in, power and elected government, and I've been stonewalled at every pass.
Well, let me give you some updates here. We wrote to several people, the Premier of Ontario, University Health Network CEO, the Attorney General of Ontario, and the Justice, Dunphy. And we said we were going to be doing this program today. We quoted what the CBC said, and we said we are looking, what actions did the hospital take against the guards who were criminally charged? The guard who adjusted the camera to avoid capturing the confrontation, are they still employed or at the hospital or any capacity at the University Health Network? If so, what action was taken against them? And we asked for statements from all of them in regard to what they had to do. The hospital network said they won't comment on any matter before the court. And they won't comment on anybody's employment. Andrew Kennedy, which one is he? Andrew Kennedy. He is, I don't know. He's a spokesperson, I guess, for the Attorney General of Ontario. Our sympathies are with the Warriner family regarding the death of their loved one. It's important to note that the courts are independent of the Ontario government, and neither government ministries nor elected representatives can interfere with court decision-making. Wow, if that's not just a weasel.
That's kiss off is what it is.
It really...
We want you to vanish.
Right. So we've received many responses, but I don't think any of them, media request, Ford's office, no, we didn't get anything there. So there's a lot of responses, but they were all pretty much generally weasel. So how can we help you?
Well, I think those responses, before we go on, are pretty, I think that they are another level of complicity here. I have filed a complaint with the Canadian Judicial Council, which apparently is an independent association responsible for oversight of our justices. I'll be honest with you, at this point, I lack any trust that there will be any movement. Interestingly, I've heard from some other folks that again, these are allegations, but that Justice Sean Dunphy is well known for being one-sided and for not looking at totality, and has made some other pretty controversial decisions. I'm not sure what more can be done. I have spent 3 years stamping my feet, accessing systems to seek oversight. I've done everything I can, and interestingly, some of those folks are still employed. In fact, the person who moved the camera, who tampered with evidence, is still employed at University Health Network.
I have to tell you, if you moved the camera, you did it because you knew you were doing something wrong. Why else would you move the camera? Why would you even think about that? You move the camera.
Mm-hmm. His testimony at pretrial was that he panicked and that he has an anxiety problem. And so I think either way you look at that, actually when he was pressed further, why did you panic? Why, and he says, well, it was the use of force. No kidding. No kidding. This was not their first rodeo, in my estimation. I think that folks ought to be very concerned. And University Health Network is the largest hospital network in Canada. So they operate a number of very big hospitals in the downtown core, which, as you know, Toronto is one of the largest cities in the world, North America especially. So everyone's just hands off. They don't want to. They don't want to.
Rock the boat.
Pull the layers back and take a look.
I have to tell you, we are following this this story. We will continue to follow it, Denise. I'm going to post this story along with all of the email addresses. I would ask the audience to just send a very nice tweet or write these offices and just say, we think this is a real injustice here. This is a killing. I don't personally know why there isn't a George Floyd. Well, yes, I do. There's no money to be made here, and it's not in the, it doesn't fit into the narrative. In fact, it fits very well into the narrative of COVID people are dangerous. We should take them out. But this is a human life. And if this is the treatment you get from a hospital, Canada, you should be afraid to go to the hospital. My grandfather, he was born in 1903, and he said, never take me to the hospital. Hospitals are where people go to die. And because of his experience before antibiotics and everything else, that was true. And I think it's becoming true again, but just for different reasons. So we're going to post all of their email addresses, and I would just ask you a very nice email just saying, this is an injustice, a clear injustice, and we'll include the video so you can see it. If you happen to agree, you need to rally behind this family. It should be a global movement because life matters. Life matters. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Denise. Let us know how we can help.
Thank you so much. I'm really grateful for your support. Thank you.
You bet.